told, thank God it's Friday. This early morning it's going to actually end today for us that wake very early to be here for you. Good morning once again. My name is Nonye Nwokwe and we are so much delighted to have you join us again today being Friday, the 25th day of August 2023. August is here. By next week we'll be looking at entering into September. Oh, how wonderful, how powerful it will be. And we thank God thus far how he has led us. You're welcome to the show. Let's begin with the press review. All right, you're welcome to the press review. On press review, we have some of our national dailies to look at, and of course, stories making their headlines in front of ABS website, on ABS website, sorry. And it's audience participatory. When the time comes, we open our phone lines, the lines on the screen. You'll call and be part of what we are doing here. And we've been joined by a guest in the studio this morning, Ejike Abata. You're welcome to the studio, Ejike.
Good morning. I'm glad to see you.
It's very good to see you here.
And it's Friday also.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin with looking at stories making their headlines on ABS website. Anambra State Government trains workers on data sourcing, processing, presents laptops. Mrs. Soludo hosts students on training for basic life-saving skills in Oka. Landlord pours hot water on tenant's 2-year-old child. Anambra State Government assures justice. Anambra State Head of Service Igwebe urges Civil Service Union to uphold dialogue in resolving issues. All right, Ejike.
Well, there are some catchy stories there. But I like to dwell on the first one, training on data sourcing. And I think that's one area where we seem to be getting it wrong in our MDAs. Because if you go to some MDAs today, you still see files packed up, and some persons have even complained that, especially in the health sector, of files being misplaced, whereby a patient comes for surgery, they can't find the patient's files. You begin to search, and without that file, the surgery cannot hold because you need to get a history of the patient's records. So it's very important, and the training it's okay, it's nice, but let's also understand, whether we like it or not, that some persons who occupy some spaces in the offices cannot take that training. They can't imbibe whatever they are being taught there. You understand? So we need to move those people away to other places and bring in young persons who are computer inclined. There are some persons who don't even want to hear anything that has to do with computer because they just feel I cannot learn this thing at my age. So we need to move those people and bring in people who have fresh minds, who understand what it is, because we've long been hearing that paper documents is beginning to face away, but it doesn't seem so in Nigeria, except in some private sectors. So it's a good one, and I hope those who were taught and those who are given the laptop should not misuse it. Don't use the laptop for something else. Use it for improving services to Anambra.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's move on now. The Daily Sun newspaper, that's the first paper we'll be looking at this morning. In front of the Daily Sun newspaper, we have so many stories there. IPPIS failed to remit workers 26.6 billion naira NHF in 2 years. Standoff at APC over new National Working Committee members, governors, stakeholders, protest of Secretariat. Now, don't release my documents to Atiku. Tinubu tells Chicago University will release it if court gives order. That's what Varsity is saying. Now, Tinubu sends Muslim clerics for more talks with Niger junta. Nigeria will strengthen ties with UK to combat insecurity. That's coming from Badaru. Bloodbath in Abuja, Nasarawa, Edo, Kebbi, Kaduna. Gunmen kill soldier, 2 custom officers, pastor, 12 die in both mishap. Era of propaganda to promote FG programs over. That's coming from Malagi. Video on captured armored vehicle. Video on captured armored vehicle. Fake. That's Army speaking. And we see Southeast Security reps panel 6 Kanos on conditional release, which rider there begins investigation into alleged killing of civilians by Army in Enugu. And we can see there's a picture there, Cross River APC women protesting party's decision to move national woman leader position from state to Edo at the party's national headquarters, Abuja, yesterday. Okay, these are some of the stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Sun newspaper.
Tinubu, the problem in Niger, and in Tinubu sending clerics for more talks, it's a good one. Let's also cast our mind back. The powers that be in Niger today have said they will hand over power to a civilian, to a democratically elected leader after 2 years. But ECOWAS are saying no, that they wouldn't want that to happen. ECOWAS wants the status quo to remain. And also, let's also remember that they appointed somebody in Niger, a civilian, who is currently running the affairs of Nigeria.
nation.
Yes. So, well, the question is, what has been the outcome of the discussion thus far?
The first one.
Yes.
And have they really looked into the reason for the coup in the first place?
No, looking at the reason is like telling them to shoot themselves on the foot. They can't look at the reason. They know the reasons. And they even most members of leaders of ECOWAS are also guilty. So you can't tell them to look at the reason. It's very obvious. It's very glaring. But let's also understand that Nigerians are not complaining. They are even happy that there's a change of government. They are happy because they've gone through. You see,
you know why I asked that?
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about when we talk about sending more people for talk, you know, ndị Igbo si na-esi na isi mmiri wee kwọcha ma esi n'okwu wee ropu ihe na-eme no so that they'll be sure it doesn't happen again. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, that's why they can't ask such, because when you are guilty of something,
they are affected.
They are affected, so they can't go to and begin to ask what is the reason why. There's even a news of what the Nigerian junta leader said, which I don't think it's true. But he threatened that they will come to Nigeria and restore the and put in the person who allegedly wins. So they are guilty. They can't ask such questions. And also, maybe it's because Niger is a Muslim country. That's why they are sending Muslim leaders. But there are people who are trained in such negotiations. It mustn't be people of a particular religious sect or tribal sect. There are people who are trained to sit on the table and negotiate. I think these are the people who should be brought in to discuss. And also, there is for ECOWAS, there is no other option. It's either Niger reverse to the status quo or they come in with war, which most persons don't want. So we are watching, and the Niger leaders are also adamant. They are adamant. They want to do things their own way. But let's see what happens at the end.
All right, all fingers crossed, waiting for the outcome. But we pray that the outcome will be positive, something that will be, beneficial to all concerned. Now, the New National Star is the next paper to look at. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the New National Star. We see Tinubu Chicago Varsity blames unknown clerk for inconsistencies in school record. We try that they say human error reason for difference between award date and certified copy. Nigeria's unemployment rate falls to 4.1%, NBS report. Nigeria missing as BRICS admits Ethiopia, Egypt, 5 others as members. APC crisis, National Working Committee inauguration stalled as security agents take over party headquarters. Now, why Catholic priests are kidnappers' favorite targets, with riders there, 21 Reverend Fathers abducted in 1 year. Kidnappers attracted by huge ransom payments, and Kaduna most dangerous place to be Catholic priest. Moving on, we see CBN faults JP Morgan's $3.7 billion estimate of Nigeria's net reserves. How IPPIC failed to remit workers 26.6 billion naira, FMBN, 2 dead, 37 rescued as multi-million naira story building collapses in Abuja. Appeal court judgment, confusion in Labour Party as Abure Apapa claim legitimacy. Wow, a collapsed building in Abuja. I don't know. It really happened.
Yes, it has happened, and the new Minister of the FCT has ordered the arrest of the landlord. I think some persons are not doing their jobs. If not, we shouldn't be experiencing such tragedies. Okay. When somebody approved for the construction of that building, somebody gave the approval, but there should be follow-up in terms of monitoring to make sure what was approved is what is being constructed, and also the quality of the materials being used, because that is where the major problem is, the quality of the materials. But in most cases, they give approval and everybody goes to bed and sits back and wait for the next person that will come seeking for approval. So I hope at the end of it, of course, some persons have died, some persons are injured, and thank God for those who were rescued. The FCT minister has also ordered free medical treatment to the survivors.
Okay.
And I hope they recover quickly. And also, those who are in charge should be alive to their duties so that we will not continue to hear stories like this.
All right. Can we look at the Tinubu issue and the varsity document? It says Chicago Varsity blames unknown clerk for inconsistencies in his school record. They are coming out to talk now, and they are trying to, I don't know what actually the problem could be.
This is a case of somebody who is drowning and seeking for something to hold on to. The U.S. is not a country where such anomalies hold or happens. And how come the bearer of the certificate did not call the attention of the university all these years? It's a grievous mistake. You are a male and your certificate or your document says you are a female, and you kept quiet up to this, for how many years, up to this moment. Okay, the person who was said to have signed the certificate was said to have signed the certificate sometime in 1979 or thereabouts. But record shows that the person was employed or started work in 1990. So this inconsistency, you don't say the clerk made the mistake or the clerk did this. No.
They called it unknown clerk. Unknown clerk, faceless clerk.
Such person cannot be unknown.
Okay.
I know. Of course, the Chicago State University has said they would release the results, provided the court asks them to do so. So you can't tell us the clerk is on. It's a slap on the face of and the university, and we are watching to see how they will rise up and defend such accusation.
All right, the new National Star is next in the lineup. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the new National Star. Okay, sorry, we've taken that before. Let's look at the Punch. The Punch newspaper is next in our lineup. Let's see. Naira crumbles to 920 per dollar. Fuel marketers push for fresh price hike. With riders there, fuel price can't remain at 617 naira, with naira falling below 900 per dollar. Ipman talking. Nigerians back subsidy removal. FG replies Obaseki. Labour wants NNPCL probe. ECOWAS military action won't yield positive results in Niger. Russian envoy speaking. FG makes 2 trillion naira taxes from Google, Facebook, foreign firms. The reports reaching this morning. And other stories like culture minister still a copper group alleges. Okay, falling slabs trapped us while fleeing Abuja collapsed building. Victims talking. FG faces heavy criticism over 41% unemployment data. Family fought army silence on senator's aide allegedly killed rogue soldier. Nigerians stranded in UK victims of visa scam. Okay, and we can see the picture of the Abuja collapsed building, and of course we see a victim there, somebody that is wounded. We pray for quick recovery of the person. All right, Ejike.
Well, Naira crumbling to $920 and a proposed projected increase in price of fuel. It's in fact, we've not had the last as regards subsidy removal. That's number one. Number two, whoever thinks that there won't be increase in price of fuel between now and December must be living in another
planet.
Planet. You understand? Despite the promises that there won't be increase in fuel, there would be increase. It's very glaring, except the person is not in Nigeria. Even if you are not Nigeria, you should listen to follow the trend. There would be increase in price of fuel. It's very certain. And also, of course, about last week we heard that they are trying to bring in subsidy. There's a way they coined it, but not full subsidy, just to cushion the effect of what Nigerians are going through. So it's a sad reality that those who are in government don't have ideas or solutions to the problems we are facing. It's one thing for you to want power, and when you get the power, you don't know what to do with it. We want solutions to the problems that we are facing. Fuel currently sells at 620 on the average, and some persons have even projected that it will hit 1,000 naira per liter. And it's also sad that spokespersons for the president will always come out to tell us in Egypt fuel is 1,200, in South Africa. What is the daily income of people in that country?
And
what is the minimum wage in that country? You don't tell us those ones. You come here to tell us that Nigeria sells fuel cheaper than other countries. So let's hope that one day, of course, we only resign to hope that one day we'll get that leader who would have the temerity and the passion to truly turn things around. Selling fuel for 620 naira in a country that produces fuel, it's uncalled for.
Okay, let's move on. The next paper, the Daily Independent newspaper. And let me quickly intimate you that this program is audience participatory. We encourage you to make your calls and contribute to what we are saying here. The numbers are on your screen. Just call and be a part of what we do by contributing on the issues raised here so far. On the Daily Independent newspaper, we see Niger coup as ECOWAS chair, I'm under pressure to act fast. That's coming from Tinubu, with a rider there asked Islamic leaders to expedite action in dialogue with junta. Now moving on, crisis deepens as NNPP suspends BOT chair, publicity secretary, with riders there embattled Abo. Major says suspension a huge comic show. FG tackles Obaseki over criticism of Tinubu's economic policies. Nigeria rated 11th in internet penetration globally. Dambata speaking. Nigeria's unemployment rate hit 4.1% in the first quarter of 2023, NBS report. Oil thieves flee as troops destroy illegal refinery in Delta. Reps urge release of Nnamdi Kanu to end insecurity in Southeast, with rider summon AGF over non-remittance of National Housing Fund. Now 56 farmers regain freedom 6 months after abduction. Appeal court judgment, LP Moxa Papa says it's another devastating blow. Now in Abuja, collapsed building, Wike, others arrest of landlord, resettlement of indigents, 2 dead, several injured, 37 rescued. All right, let's see which stories are we looking at. 56 farmers regain freedom 6 months after. Is it after famine that they had to release them? And we can see what is happening in agricultural products. This year, there is scarcity of corn. Corn that everywhere you see corn, it's no longer like that.
Yes, first of all, whichever, for whatever reason, for whichever way they were, or on whatever conditions they were released, I'm sure they are happy to regain their freedom, and it's also a relief for their family members. And it's also not easy for them being under abduction for 6 months. You know, they must have developed some survival strategies for them to have made it and thus far. So thank God for their release, and I also hope they'll gain the strength and not be demoralized from going back to the farm, to make a living. And of course, it tells on prices of food, especially as today, except for those who do not go to the market to buy things. Prices of everything is on the increase, and today, if you really want to buy tomatoes, you must have 1,000 naira. Not that it will be enough, but you hardly find people who sell tomatoes of below 1,000 naira today. So everything is practically affected, and of course, we know the reason. It's not far-fetched. It's because of the problems we have up north, where farmers who go to farm are abducted, and some of them are killed right there in their farm. Women are raped. The young girls are abducted and they're married off. So, and funnily enough, there's not been any concrete action against such things. I've not even heard the present president talk about it. He's focusing on Niger, focusing on trying to keep his seat with the heat turning on him. So we hope at the end of it all that these things will stop so that people would, you need food to live. There are several other problems that we are facing, but the paramount thing now is for you to be able to be alive.
Feed.
Yes, so for you to feed, and you need food. So if we are able to solve that part, at least get something that will be able to price. If we are able to get a reduction in the prices of food, then we will be able to sustain ourselves, and while we gain the strength to face other challenges that come our way.
All right, can we look at this banner headline here that ECOWAS, as ECOWAS chair, that I'm under pressure to act fast. That's coming from the president, Bola Tinubu.
Under pressure to act fast in what way? Is he going there to remove the military leaders in Niger and install the deposed president? So in what pressure are they asking him to go to war? Tinubu should also understand that if Nigeria stands to lose more if he goes to war, if ECOWAS goes to war in Niger, if there is a military invasion in Niger, Nigeria stands to lose more. Because most of the artilleries that will be needed, Nigerians will bring them. Most of the military, Nigeria will bring in the soldiers and all whatnot. So I don't know, whoever is pressurizing him, he should also be able to withhold the pressure and understand that this is not Nigeria's war. With the fact that, of course, his chairman, he was elected and then immediately became chairman. Congratulations to him. It's also part of what the job brings. So he should face whatever pressure, he should be able to withhold it. But he should understand that Nigerians do not want war. Because it's beginning to look like Niger versus Nigeria, which is not supposed to be. Well, whichever way it is, Nigerians do not want war because we will stand to lose more if such things should happen.
All right, The Nation newspaper is next in our lineup. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of The Nation newspaper. Edun, hyperinflation, low GDP per capita to end soon. Hold governors accountable for palliatives, says Tinubu. APC leaders step into Sanwo-Olu assembly row. And Ondo government overrules Akure monarchs over market closure. Okay, potholes endanger lives on Third Mainland Bridge. Wagner boss made mistakes, says Putin. We also see stories. A president graduated in 1979. Chicago Varsity replies article, why we can't release academic records to plaintiff. All right, okay, unemployment, okay, we've seen that before. Okay, the rider on Edo, hyperinflation, low GDP per capita, unemployment rate down to 4.1% in first quarter. Our investment drive on course by Shetima. Okay, these are the stories making their headlines in front of The Nation newspaper. Chicago has replied article.
Yes, but I do not think that's the final reply, because there are still other things that needs to be clarified from that result. Of course, he graduated in 1979, but we also recall that whoever signed that certificate was employed in 1990. That was the much we heard. And also, they've not been able to tell us if the Tinubu who graduated is a male or a female. So there are several other clarifications that needed to be done.
There are still questions begging for answers.
All
right. Let's see the Guardian newspaper. Let's see stories in front of the Guardian newspaper now. Step aside, please. The many troubles of green passport holders. That's a big story on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Confusion as court declares Apapa LP national chairman sacks Abure 24 banks lose 5.7 billion naira to frauds in second quarter amid rising digital crimes. 15 IOCs may threaten energy transition in Africa, Europe. Diphtheria death toll hits 100 in Kano, 26 in Bauchi. At 1 hour a week, only 4.1% of Nigerians unemployed, says NBS. You can also see other stories. Nigeria left out as BRICS admits 6 new members for global influence. We also see battered national image. Okay, that's the story that comes with step aside, please, the many troubles of green passport holders. So I think this is what happened, when we travel outside the shores of this country. I've seen that before, where people that hold other passports follow a particular line, and you have to stand on a queue once you're with the green passport.
It's unfortunately what some persons, some Nigerians, bequeathed on Nigeria. Some persons have not been good ambassadors of the green passports. So, but I wonder how long it will take for that to happen. How much longer will they be asked to step aside because they are holding because they are bearing the green passports? And also, how much more are we doing to right the wrongs of the past? These things did not start today, but it seems Nigerians are doing less to correct that anomaly. It's of course you don't feel happy when you see other persons giving express pass, and when it comes to your own turn, you are asked to step aside. People will begin to cast their gaze at you, and at that point you are immediately a suspect. Though you are not pronounced one, but at that point you are a suspect. So whatever you do, if you are that person who is unable to comport yourself or restrict yourself, you begin to make statements or acting, you spell more trouble for yourself and even those behind you. So we should be able to hold our heads high. It's not the green is the national color, so it's not something that would sweep under the carpet or would change by changing the color of the passport. No, we need to change our attitude. The way we present ourselves, both within and outside the country, so that these things it has lingered for so long. This issue of stepping aside, it has lingered for so long, and I hope it ends someday.
All right, can we look at the confusion as a court declares Apapa LP national chairman Asak Sabure?
Yes, Abure won the first time. Then the Lamidi faction went to court, the appeal court. So we are looking at them going to Supreme Court now because the Supreme Court is the apex court to give the final judgment on who truly is the national chairman of the Labour Party. But it's a good thing. Nobody is throwing tantrums already. Nobody is threatening brimstone and fire. Let the courts decide who truly is the leader of the party.
Apart from the court deciding, who do they actually want to become the leader of the party? That's another issue.
Yes, but also, you have to, the question is, in what way did they emerge? It's not really...
Because let it not be like what we are witnessing here, whereas you saw another people trooped out in their numbers to protest that the Igwe that was giving certificate was imposition on them, and that they need peace in their community or whatnot. So there should be something the people want versus what the court is actually bringing to table.
Yes, it's often said that majority have their way or minority have their say. There's a way that saying goes. So, but there should be, or there are laid down rules for you to follow in order to get to a particular place. So, provided whoever the people want did not go through that that route, it becomes a problem. You know, we all want, of course, I mean, when it comes during an election, we all want a particular person, but at the end of the day, another person is declared winner. And it doesn't call for us to go to the streets and begin to destroy the things, you understand? We only strive and look for a way to reclaim whatever that has been taken away. So if Abure, if whichever election that brought in Abure, whichever convention that brought in Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party, if he did not go in line with the constitution of the Labour Party, then it spells trouble for him. Same thing applies to Lamidi Apapa. If whatever might be the reason for him claiming to be the national president, if it is not in line with what the constitution of the party says, then it also spells trouble for him. So I hope that their lawyers are able to present their matters the way it is, so that the rightful person will be declared the national president.
All right, the program is Press Review on ABS Television and Good Morning Anambra Show. And it's audience participatory. There's a phone line on the screen with which to call and make your own opinion count on any issue raised here. Now, let's move on to the Daily Trust newspaper. That's the next paper we're looking at, the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's see what the stories are saying there. Niger crisis, cow, sheep shortage looms as border closure bites harder. We have riders there. Supply reduced by 50% in Borno, 70% in Katsina. My dates in 4 trucks, grounded. Trader speaking. Largest cattle market in Jigawa desolate. Tinubu asked clerics to dialogue further with junta. And we also have other stories. Working for 1 hour shows you are employed. NBS tells Nigerians. With other stories, man, wife arrested for stealing neighbor's 2-year-old son. Tinubu's economic reforms to attract investments to Nigeria coming from the Vice President Shetima. Wike other owners arrested as 2 killed in Abuja building collapse. Japa, Nigerians stranded in UK after emptying savings on travel. My educational records not relevant to Atiku's petition. Tinubu tells U.S. court. Dangote beats MTN Globacom banks to emerge most valuable brand in Nigeria for 6th year. All right, that's the story. Stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Trust newspaper. All right, which one are you interested in looking at?
The border closure.
Okay.
You know, when
I think some things are being clearer now. You know, where what we eat actually comes from.
That's what I'm saying. When things happen, you begin to understand why
The situation
is like this. So, who would have known that we don't even produce most of the cattle that we consume here in Nigeria? So, and you begin to ask, so what do we produce in Nigeria? If we have to import sheep and goats into Nigeria, what do we export? So it's laughable. It's laughable, and no wonder why the Niger junta is adamant on closing the border, because they closed the border from their own end, which means, and also, let's also remember that we cut off their power supply. Algeria promised to give them power for free. Okay, now they closed our border. We can't bring in cattle. So how do we augment? We can see, going by the news now, 50 to 70% shortfall in Bauchi and Katsina. So who augment? What plans are we putting in place to make sure we don't depend solely on importing cattle from Niger? Cattle, we have grass everywhere, so why can't we be able to? So it's now glaring that we don't even produce most of what we consume in Nigeria. It's a sad one.
All right, I don't know. One thing is making arrests. Another thing is prosecuting to serve as deterrent to others. Now, the arrest made by, according to the FCT minister that said the owner of the building should be arrested in Abuja, one thing is arresting the owner. The owner is left for the owner now to produce the contractor. Is that not so?
Okay.
Okay. One thing is arresting people. Then the next thing is, this is not the first time we are witnessing collapse of building in this nation, Nigeria. Though most times it happened in Lagos, but this time around in Abuja.
It means the punishment is not severe enough, because it's more like somebody committing homicide. You are constructing a building. You know the materials. Also, who is the contractor? Who are those on site? Are they registered?
Even the one that happened in Lagos that time with, I think, is it that TB Joshua zone? I don't know how the report ended, even up to today.
Of course, some person, there are so many things happening in the country. So journalists, when they break this news, they move on to the next one. It only takes somebody or a media house who has special interest in a particular story to follow it through. I don't want to believe they are let off the hook like that. The problem is how severe is their punishment. Yes, and also if we're able to report and say, okay, this person is still in custody, or this person will serve for so and so years or pay. So it's not even a matter of paying fines. No, for such things you shouldn't pay fine. You should be arrested and jailed, so that you understand that you don't toy with human lives. And funnily enough, most of them don't even live in the building that they construct or they are constructing. They don't have any intention of living there. So why would you put up death trap for people? They lose their lives, they lose their properties. So this is not a matter of paying a bill for them to. No, they should be jailed. And let us also, those who are journalists who are in that field should also be able to follow such stories through, so that those who are constructing will understand that it's not a business as usual. If you do a thing like this is the repercussion for you, and you must serve it through. It's not a matter of maybe you go to the court, they will declare maybe 5 years imprisonment. After 1 year, you are outside looking for another death trap to construct.
Okay, now the kind of weird things happening in Nigeria these days. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago that we heard of a man that poured hot water on a 2-year-old of a neighbor or something. Now, wife arrested for stealing neighbor's 2-year-old son. I don't know where this one happened, but you begin to imagine, the kind of things we hear these days in this world.
At the end of it all, you discover that they probably stole the child to sell, because that is what happens in most cases. We have laws in Nigeria, but implementation of the law is where the major problem lies. And let us also be wary. Parents should also be wary. But unfortunately, the days are gone where neighbors look out for other children who are not their own. Because if a child does something bad and as a neighbor you spank the child, you cause problem from the child's parents. So everybody is beginning to mind their business. That is why we are having such things. Today, people just go to rent an apartment with the sole aim of surveying the area and seeing if there are children they would want to. We've had stories of people who move into an apartment after 2 months, they live with neighbors' children. So people should be wary of insecurity. Is not just people using gun to kidnap others or kill people. No, you should also be wary of people who are around you. Gone are the days where we look out for each other. No. Everybody is a suspect to the next person.
All right. Now, Japa, Nigerians stranded in UK after emptying savings on travel. Of course, everybody knows what it takes to travel out of the country. Not to talk of when you have made up your mind that you're not coming back, you sell off even properties and everything, to travel. And I wonder what actually happened along the line. You remember there is a paper we read here that said that some of them are victims of fake visa or something like that. Yeah. I don't know what actually is going on. And there's this video I watched last night. I think Joey Bokwe shared it, of a woman that was begging on the streets of is Italy, either Italy or so. So one woman in Nigeria was not happy with how she was begging. The Nigerian woman was now accusing her that they are painting Nigerians in black, by going around begging, that the government is paying them. Why should she be on the street begging? So these are some of the issues we are saying with the people, jabbing to foreign lands these days.
If we have, if you as a parent, you are able to provide your child television and maybe cable TV, your child will not leave your house to go and watch television in another person's house. Mm. If we have what we need to make life easy for us in Nigeria, people will not decide to sell off their properties and go to somewhere where they know they are not guaranteed of a better life. You are not guaranteed except you put certain things in place. But the problem, just like in what we had in the 70s, in the 80s, people moved from the east to Lagos without address. Lagos, land of opportunity. That is what we are seeing now. People move without no definite intention.
And to be frank with you, I kept saying this, that all these people moving out, have you sat down to ask yourself that, is this where God wants me to be? I asked that question severally. That let it not be like Hannah in the Bible. Is it Hannah? Naomi, sorry, in the Bible, that Elkanah, the husband, took to a foreign land because there was famine in Jerusalem. And when they got there, he lost the husband, he lost the 2 sons. And when he was coming back, they called him Naomi. He said, "Don't call me Naomi because the Lord has dealt with me greatly, but call me Mara," bitterness. So that passage kept ringing bell in my ears, that in as much as we are suffering here, have you sat down to ask yourself, where do you actually want me to be? And there's a reason to everything that is happening anyway. But though that we've not seen it or we're not seeing it, does not mean there is no reason behind what is happening. So
Nigerians are not spiritual in that aspect, waiting to hear from God. From God. No, they are not. Nigerians, they have this survival instinct.
Most people anyway.
Of course, most people anyway. They have this survival instincts. Of course, let me get there first. If Okechukwu and Emeka could do it, if Osaro and Omori could survive, then I should be able to survive as well. That is what they
now,
are.
Now, in this kind of situation now, where can the person start with?
You don't. They are surviving. For them, just for them to be alive alone, they rather beg on the streets of UK and US rather than stay here and suffer in Nigeria. That is the mindset that they have. They just want to leave Nigeria for good. Okay, we are even talking about what of those who travel by road. We hear stories of survivors who say, I know if you tell my friend, my brother, making him try. But you still find thousands of people who still want to go by road. Even despite the warnings, it's very certain or very glaring that if you don't have enough money on you, you will be sold as a slave. You will work in Libya for not less than 1 year, so that you'll be able to buy your freedom. That's if you don't have enough money. You go through torture. They will beat the hell out of you. If you are a lady, you can imagine what they go through there. So you have to call from Libya, you have to call back Nigeria and tell your parents or your people to send you money to buy your freedom. But people still want to go through road. So that is the level of suffering that Nigerians have been subjected to. And those who do not have a thick skin to weather it would rather live. Let me go and suffer. Provided beyond this suffer, I'll move into
and
Italy.
Probably they must have felt there's nothing here for me.
That's why they are living. If there's anything here for them, then why would they want to go through such routes? It's like somebody knowing that this is fire and the person is willing to go through that fire, knowing where that beyond the fire I will have a better life, which is not guaranteed anyway. But because of the problems we have here, and our leaders are not helping matter. If they are asking us to tighten our belts, they are asking us to cut costs, but they are living lavishly. They are spending as if the money comes from their pocket. You don't do such. If you truly want Nigerians, if you're asking Nigerians to tighten their belt, you should tighten your own belt first. We have 45 ministers today.
Leadership by example.
We have 45 ministers today. So which means we have 45 ministries. What for? What for? How many ministers do we have in US? So these are just ways of in fact cost of governance in Nigeria is
which stakeholders have been calling saying to cut
that
down.
It's part of the problem, but nobody is even looking at that aspect.
Okay, now the last paper but not the least for review this morning is the Nigerian Tribune. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Nigerian Tribune. Niger, I am the one holding back ECOWAS. That's coming from our president, Tinubu, urges Islamic scholars to ensure constitutional governance restoration. Other stories in front of the Tribune says NBS revises a methodology for unemployment report, says rate dropped to 4.1% in first quarter of year 2023. Wike orders arrest of landlord as building collapses in Abuja. 2 dead, 37 rescued. Nominations open for 2023 Obafemi Awolowo Leadership Prize. We can see Delta communities occupy Shell's flow station over non-inclusion in PIA, threaten to halt crude oil production. I think that's the placards we are seeing in front of the Nigerian Tribune there. NAFDAC approved Varsity's herbal medicine for diabetes. NAFDAC approves Varsity's herbal medicine for diabetes. Pay withheld salaries, renegotiate 2009 agreement, ASU tells Tinubu. NANS queries stringent criteria for student loan. 1.92 million benefits from palliatives distribution in Kaduna and Gombe. Yahaya Bello, Kogi lawmakers storm APC headquarters over Meseko Okolo Cross River fumes over Idele. These are the stories in front of the Nigerian Tribune. So, HK, which one are you looking at?
Just two stories there.
All right.
Number one is NAFDAC approving herbal medicine produced by university. These are reasons why the universities are established in the first place, to provide solutions to nation building. If there's a problem, the universities should sit back as intellectuals, provide solutions to the problems and present them. And if they are test-run and they are okay, then people will be able to make use of them. So, of course, for us here, it's news. But that is their essence. That is why they exist. That is what it should be. So it's a good one. Kudos to them. The next story there is... and
this one also is talking to...
ASU
are they planning for another strike?
Yes, okay, you've not heard. They are planning for another strike. ASU is mulling for, there's another strike that might happen any moment. So I don't know why government does not want to treat this matter and, let it end once and for all. And they keep overflogging this issue. You have an agreement, for God's sake. That is where ASU is holding them by the jugular. This is an agreement you entered into in 2009. Keep your own part of the agreement so that there will be smooth running of the universities. But no, the government would rather talk about more allocation to the National Assembly, more allocation to the president and all whatnot, more how to buy bulletproof cars for government officials. So, and that is why ASU will keep on insisting. And unfortunately for them, I say unfortunately, going on strike is the only option for them. Because that
and
is
this strike over the years,
it tells you of government insensitivity.
Now you can't even predict
how long you stay in school.
Yes, of course you don't even know when there is holidays for university students in Nigeria again. You don't know which time is holiday. You don't know which time they have break. You don't know which time they are in school. So in school 247 now.
Yes, you don't go into an agreement and renege from your agreement. So federal government should keep its own part of the agreement. Even if since 2009, if they had been paying that money bit by bit, it's over 10 years, they would have cleared it off. But it seems they just don't want to keep that agreement. It's not as if the money is going into the pocket of ASU members. It's going into rehabilitating the universities. How many universities are ranked in top 100 in the world? How many Nigerian universities? So it's a sad one. I also want to talk about the protests by Delta communities. I understand that some persons, some individuals in Niger Delta areas, when these multinationals, bring out slots for them, after taking these slots, they sell their slots to the highest bidder and then come back to protest. Because if no matter how much you are paid, the money you will exhaust the money someday. So it is part of the problems that they are having there. If not, of course, Shell is not doing the best it can when it comes to Niger Delta, both the environment and the inhabitants of the area. But the little that they are doing, how are the people managing it? You get a slot to work, even if you are employed as a porter in Shell or in one of their facilities, you should be able to take care of yourself. But they rather sell that slot to whoever is interested. Go back and then spend the money on whatever, and then come back tomorrow to protest and say, you are taking our oil, you are not settling us. So that is another area that they should also look into. If the slots are available for those who are educated, then go to school. Go to school, because there are opportunities for you to improve yourself. And there are also jobs. There are also menial jobs that you can also do that should also be able to take care of yourself. Stop selling your slot and come back to disturb the people and say you are not included or you are not given employment.
All right. Now, NANS queries a stringent criteria for student loan. That student loan, when it came out, some people, after looking at the conditions, some lost hope of partaking in that loan. And I don't know if they have actually started it. This nation, something might be going on. You just be hearing a different story altogether, while the other side, something else is happening there.
Yes, for you to be able to qualify for the loan, you must, you or your parents or your family must earn less than 500,000 naira per annum. You must be able
What's the criteria to measure that?
You should be able to, you provide a lawyer who with 12 years post court to bar experience, 12 years. You provide a justice or Justice of Peace. These are then after you graduate, 2 years after your NYSC, that's when you begin to pay back 10% of whatever you earn, as if it is guaranteed that after 2 years you will be employed. There are persons who left school.
But it should be an ideal thing that even before you conclude your NYSC, there is a job waiting for you somewhere. If actually they want to be sincere with this loan, so that those that assess it can pay it back comfortably
without having any excuse.
Yeah.
But we always put the cart before the horse in Nigeria. You don't just come out and the president woke up one day and said subsidy is over without putting things in place. You are putting student loan and expecting those who access the loan to pay back after 2 years without creating job opportunities for them after that 2 years. So how do you expect them to pay? And if you don't pay in 2 years, there's a fine of 500,000 naira or jail term of I think about two years or thereabouts. So you don't just do things because other countries are doing it. It is happening in US, it is happening in UK. Those people, they sat down and thought of these things and they dotted the T's and the I's and crossed the T's and know if this must be in place, this is what we should put first. That's why they are surviving. That's why they are succeeding today. But it's not so in Nigeria.
All right. I think that's it on today's episode of Press Review. Thank you so much, Ejike, for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
And a lot of stories. You can read more when you get to the papers. Go through and see other stories. Thank you so much for being a part of Press Review this morning. Bye for now.